Praise be Jesus Christ. I was talking to one of our seniors recently, and the senior was asking me, how can I deal with stress and anxiety? And so many of our seniors here in high school, it's like feeling overwhelmed with the whole college situation, making the applications, and now waiting for the results about where we got into, where we didn't get into, okay? So there's that stress and anxiety. There's, the stress and anxiety of everyday life, and there's, the tremendous, overwhelming stress and anxiety of what's going on in the church, in the world, in our country today, all the political stuff, all the upheaval. There's so many things going on that can cause us stress and anxiety, and especially the uncertainty of what lies ahead. So how can we really deal with stress and anxiety? There's some practical things and some spiritual things we could do to deal with anxiety. A good priest friend of mine said something I always thought about a lot throughout the seminary. He said to me, first the man, then the saint. Like, we have to focus on those basic human things first, and in conjunction with, focus on those spiritual things, our spiritual life as well. Grace builds upon nature. So what are some practical things we could do to deal with stress? First and foremost, make your bed when you get up in the morning. Make your bed. If your room is a mess, clean your room. When we have that kind of disorder at home where we're supposed to rest, we're very much more likely to be frazzled and anxious throughout the day. So make your bed, clean your room. What else can we do? If you find yourself, if you're honest with yourself, if you see yourself wasting a lot of time on your cell phone, like being addicted to it, looking at the social media feeds, the emails, waiting for that newest piece of breaking news or information, we find ourselves addicted to the cell phones. To be disciplined with ourselves and really being strict with how much we use that cell phone, how much we go to it, to kind of even fast technologically. That's a great way to just cut out so much unnecessary stress and anxiety. If we're honest with ourselves, whenever we waste time on social media or the internet or with the cell phones, we always feel more depressed, more stressful, more anxious afterwards. We never feel calm and peace and tranquil after wasting time on our cell phones or being addicted to our cell phones. So be disciplined with how you use your cell phone, how you use technology, okay? Spiritual stuff. So spiritually, how can we experience God's calm and peace? How can we deal with stress and anxiety? First and foremost, by making a good confession. Making a good confession is an awesome, super powerful way of experiencing God's peace, God's tranquility, God's calm. When we walk around with sin and shame and guilt, we kind of walk around almost like somebody with food poisoning. When you have food poisoning, you feel sick in your stomach, you feel nauseous, you feel awful. And it's like you don't feel better really until you vomit. It's a pretty crude analogy, but it's true. And the same goes for the spiritual life. We walk around with sin, with guilt, with shame that comes from sin. We kind of walk around with that spiritual food poisoning, and we really need to vomit it out to feel better. We do that through the sacrament of confession. Sometimes just like vomiting, it's a little anxious to actually do it, but you always feel better afterwards. That's kind of like confession. Sometimes we feel a little stressed out about going. Sometimes it just even seems a little unpleasant or uncomfortable, but we always feel better with calm, with peace that only God can bring us after making a good, heartfelt, humble confession. Okay, so making a good confession is the most powerful way to experience God's calm and God's peace. So make a good confession. What else? How else can we deal with stress and anxiety? Praying the Rosary from the heart. The Rosary, more than just words we kind of rattle off. The Rosary is meant to lead us into meditation. Meditation brings us calm, brings us peace. So pray the Rosary, not just as words, but pray it from the heart. Pray the Rosary from the heart. That'll give you God's calm and God's peace. What else can we do? To practice the prayer of Eucharistic adoration. Just going to the chapel, going to Jesus, truly present in the Blessed Sacrament. We don't even necessarily have to say many prayers, say many words, but just being there, being calm, not doing anything and being still. That's a great way to experience God's calm and peace. We kind of all tend to believe this lie from the culture that, we're kind of useless, we're kind of worthless unless we're doing stuff, unless we're doing things, unless we're kind of involved in activity. And we can really get lost in activity, and we believe that lie that if we're not doing stuff, we're worthless. Our worth comes from the God who loved us into creation, who's redeemed us through the passion, death, and resurrection of his Son. That's where our worth comes from. And that's much, much deeper than anything we do, much, much deeper than our activity. So just practicing that kind of discipline of being calm and being still, being quiet, and shutting down, humbly surrendering, to the Lordship of Jesus and Eucharistic adoration. That's an amazing way to experience God's calm and peace. So make your bed, clean your room, be disciplined with the cell phone, make a good confession, pray the Rosary from the heart, and spend some quiet time in Eucharistic adoration. And I guarantee you, you'll experience God's peace in your life. And God bless you.